think we are good. I'm going to make sure, just double check we are good on my phone, and then I will get started momentarily. Alrighty, I think we are good to go. I am seeing it on YouTube. Discord people, I will share my screen. Alright, hopefully we'll see a few more people join in. But hello you 4 on Discord, hello you like 18 on YouTube. YouTube chat, let me know. I think we are good to go. Yep, looks like we are good to go on both fronts. You can see I love my steak. So, I want to give a little bit of background here about my experience with Galaxies and such. So, I used to be the Galaxy man, so to speak. This was years ago. Let me scroll back. You can only really find them on Instagram. This is before I did black holes. Yeah, so I made a couple Galaxies. I think this was my best result. You can also find some on my ArtStation. I think there's only one on there. Anyways, it's time for, this was 3 years ago. So this was more or less, not when I was starting out with Blender, but sort of a year into it, maybe a little more. And I think we can do better. I think we can do a lot better. I've got too many Blender tabs open. Anyways, let's go to the reference. I didn't do a particularly thorough reference sweep here, but I got a couple images. This is a pretty neat one. So we're going to be making a spiral galaxy sort of like this, or at least we're going to start one. I don't think we're going to get to this quality yet, especially for an hour-long stream. And I intend to recreate this entirely from scratch, not really using any of the techniques that I was using back in the day, because I think I have some better ones. I haven't actually tried a whole lot of this, or the techniques that we're using, I haven't really tried a whole lot of them in this context, but I think we're good. Anyway, so I've got some pieces of reference. So this one I believe is M87. I might be wrong. This is my favorite one. This is Messier 66. It's one of the Leo triplets, the main one. This is my favorite galaxy, I think, of all time, because it's got some really neat structures. It's very detailed. Some nice stars, all that action. This is one of the more famous galaxies. This is the pinwheel. This is Messier 101. This one is a front-on galaxy, like we're looking at straight at it. This is a Hubble composite. All of these are, as far as I'm aware. There's some stitching errors in here, but it is pretty good. YouTube people, I'll answer your questions in a little bit once I show you all the reference I gathered. So you can see in a lot of these, we can actually start to see a whole lot of like almost individual stars. That's something you can add like later, but they kind of follow the main shape, and they're pretty easy to add, like with Voronoi and stuff. So it's easier. It's best to take care of this main shape. But yeah, and one of my other favorites. This is M81. This one has some fun dust lanes around here that are pretty cool. You see they're very detailed and such. Yeah, so really the nebula stuff sort of keyed me into how to do a lot of these, I think. So I think we can get some pretty good results. I also want to quickly go to see another guy who's done pretty good. I'm going to butcher even. So he's on ArtStation. Sorry, I should have loaded this up. Let's see, it's Geo. You know, I can't pronounce it or even spell it. I'm just gonna search up Galaxy because his will. There we go. So he's probably got the best results. This is also done in Blender to my knowledge. I don't think we'll be able to match this in one stream. I'm probably going to stream another one of these because Galaxies are super interesting. Yeah, by the way, I am streaming pretty much every Wednesday and Friday at this time. So you can tune in there, just so you know. This Friday, I'm hosting an interview with Unknown Dino, who you might know as one of the winners of the Endless Engines Challenge. So you can tune in for that. I think he might actually be in the audience. No, not right now. He was before. Alright, anyways, this is some good reference for like a good 3D galaxy. It does show the shapes a little bit better. But yeah, let's get into Blender, eh? So the first thing I want to do... Actually, let me first answer some questions. Discord people, you can shoot out your questions in the stream or the stage channel chat. Doesn't look like there are any. Let's see. So Blue Whale Studio asks, wondering how flexible is this design? We know it works for grand design spirals. What about flocculent spirals and irregular spirals? Asymmetric spirals? Yeah, so there's only so much you can do. That's the unfortunate reality. Yeah. I mean, you can tune it to work for pretty much anything. I did have a couple irregular ones. I just decided to scrap it because it was just... I was trying to get a realistic galaxy, and a more formulaic one was hard enough. Let's see. Thank you for some of the compliments, guys. Am I part German? No, oh, probably part. I have European ancestry. I'm just learning it because it's fun. And the swearing in German is pretty fun. Alright, let's get started. So, first, just designing base shape. That's the most important thing. Just where the dust, or not dust, where all the stars and stuff coagulate and shit. So I'm gonna scale this up, and then actually I should probably just delete this and then just add in a circle or a cylinder. And galaxies are very emissive because they're just stars and dust, which is essentially the definition of emission and absorption. And there's the occasional just amount of like gas and stuff like the nebulae, which though the nebulae are pretty small. Alright, so let's get into cycles. And I'm just going to call this galaxy. Super Sean, it's simple to create them up to a point. It's always important to not be cocky when you're trying to create a whole lot of these things, because they always get more complex, like exponentially. Alright. So we're just going to set up a general space scene, just black background and such. Let's first let's start like really simple. So we're just going to plug stuff directly into the volume. So we got our object and vector math length. This is just going to give us it's going to give us like a spherical texture, and then power 0.5. That's like a pretty decent gradient for a galaxy. And then we can add in a multiply here. to scale it to our heart's desire. I think 0.7. Yeah, that's pretty good for our purposes. Then we are going to add in another multiply, this time vector math. By the way, I'm improvising, so I'm going to certainly have to recreate some stuff here. Basically, the goal is to not have any of this intersecting. I think that's probably pretty good. So we just got a basic sort of spherical or like squished sphere thing. Turn your step rates down. I'm going to turn it down to 0.01 until we encounter viewport performance issues. Just because, I guess, just good practice. So this is like a decent distribution for the stars. Let's twist up some arms then. Let's just try to make these as soft as we can. I think we're just going to do 2 spiral arms. And let's see if we can do like some sort of logarithmic twist. We're going to have to look at our references quite a bit. And we can twist stuff very easily by using the vector rotate. And then just plugging in like the length into the angle. It's like, let me show you that real quickly. Take a length of this as well. So I'm going to shape this. Actually, so we need to do this multiply afterwards. A little bit of oversight in my thing. Alright, so if we want to squeeze that, well, I mean, look at that. There we go. Like magic. This isn't very great as far as the twisting pattern goes. So we can connect the power to this. And let's see. I think physically accurate would be about -1. Then multiply it. That's pretty cool. I'm gonna, since we're getting some errors, I'm going to isolate just the X and Y. Like that. Multiply this by that's pretty neat. Hey, what if we just do this? Then scale that out a little bit. That's pretty cool. We can just experiment with all sorts of these patterns, right? It really depends on the shape we want to get, right? So might want to color ramp ease just to smooth it up a bit, although I think we might have just done something. Oh, I know why. Yeah, it sort of concentrates the gradient. That's pretty cool. You can also add in stuff like color ramps. What I'm going to do, I think, is I'm going to... I mean, you could really just mess around with this all day, just figuring out the right curve. That's interesting. You know, I'm gonna leave it as it is. So like what, 0.2? Let's kill the z-axis on this as well. I just mainly want to see what's looking at if we take like a constant. Interesting. I think technically in real life these follow logarithmic curves, so if we just do where is it? Interesting results, that's for sure. Alright, I'm just going to use the power for now. I don't really see a reason not to. And I'm going to set it to like negative something. What's the chat doing? Yeah, so I'm currently trying to figure out a good way to get this to work. Well, I'm just gonna look at my reference. I think I could spend forever playing around with this, but I think what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna try to make it a regular barred spiral, which would just mean fuck, where is it? Just taking the minimum. No, maximum. And then mixing it. If you're using 3.5, any of the mix shaders will work, by the way. Yeah, you can see we can sort of add a bar there. It was pretty cool. Is there a smooth max? I wonder if, well, I'm just going to use a color ramp then. Set this like 0.1 and set this to ease and set this value to 0.1. And you can see that's pretty cool. Oh, is this looks like it's clipping. Huh. I guess we're just gonna end up using the maximum thing. And then just dealing with that. Then one of the tricks I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply it by this. Maybe divide it. That should give us a more consistent profile. And then we can we can like divide something like that, you know. Maybe add a little bit. Just to mess around. Let's see what the full shader looks like. Neat. Alright, folks, what do you think? How good is that for a spiral? I think that's pretty fire. Alrighty. Let's see if we can... Okay. So if I change this down, let's sort of see what's going on here. So we're multiplying the x by only a little bit. This means maybe we can flip this, or not flip this, what am I saying? Maybe what we can do is we can change it so that the gradient on the y, so let's use is a little bit sharper when, gradient on the y is a little bit sharper where like x is negative or something, or where it's negative, or where y is negative. Alright, this mix is going to go here. And we're going to want to use separate x, y, z. So we're going to mix that with, I think, a slightly scaled version. Like 5. Let's see if this works. I might have to adjust a few things. Okay. Yeah, sort of. I think we got it going the wrong way though. Or maybe we divide x by y and then use that. Nope. Actually, yep. Or maybe nope. We'll have to see. Actually, sort of, yeah. Sort of, yeah. Yeah, no, we got it. We just have to fix some of this shit. So, obviously, elephant in the room. We have this shit going on. I'm going to need a second to think about this, so I'm going to answer some questions. People, send your questions in the YouTube or Discord. I'm going to check that. Yeah, Gaming Ant did a pretty good Galaxy a while back. Let me just figure out. Let's see what this looks like. Alright. Alright. I'm thinking we can, because I see we're mapping from infinity to 0, we can take an arctangent, or sorry, negative infinity to infinity. Maybe that'll smooth it out a little bit. Yeah. Plug this into the mix factor and hopefully, yeah, it's actually, that sort of works. You got a little bit of weirdness over in there. I'm just gonna divide by pi, then add 0.5. Then plug this into the power maybe. Interesting. Alright, I think that looks pretty good. Maybe we just, instead of doing all that math, we just add this into here. So if you're wondering sort of what I was doing there, I mean, that's kind of hard to explain the intuition where that came from. Just sort of, you see shapes and you want to try them out, right? You just sort of want to see where they go. So, and I also saved us a couple nodes, right? So always look for new techniques like that, you know? You never know what you might find. Alrighty. I think we're going to certainly multiply these. And by the way, we don't want this all the way at, I guess, nah. Multiply these by like a length that yeah, so that's only really sharp over there. Interesting, eh? It's a little bit sharp. Let's see what can be done about that. I think that's just the arc tangent going a little bit crazy. Maybe if we instead changed it to like multiply or something. Nope. Some of y'all in the chat are going beyond me a bit. I'm just trying to get a cool shape here. Okay, that's better. That's better. This is tough. It seems like it's very, very easy to get overwhelmed in here. Maybe we change it to like B-spline or something. I want to make these shapes like soft and stuff, but still defined. Oh well, we'll add like noise distortion and stuff. I think this is probably a good base shape, and we'll just come back to it if we need it. First order of business, let's set up some noise and such. I'm not sure how familiar y'all are with like doing stuff live to an audience and like doing nodes and shit, but like it's kind of not really stressful, but like certainly a bit, I don't know, it's a bit nerve-wracking because I mean you get so much time to like fuck around and find out with shit that you take for granted. I don't know, it's just interesting. So let's add a bit of noise distortion in here. Set this to add. I expect we're gonna not get a great result immediately. Yep. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna duplicate this. Let's clean this up a little bit. That's interesting. Alright, not to overdo it too much. Neat. Alright, let's see if we can I wonder what this will look like. That's pretty cool. These are a little bit more defined in the center. Maybe a little bit less. Nah, I think I like the old one better. Just nicer. It already sort of mitigates that a bit. I think we might want to scale this down a bit. What if we go, where's the top thing? Kind of lost the bar in there. Maybe it is best we add another scale node. And like a color ramp, just to art direct it a bit. I mean, that seems like a decent enough shape. Alright, I think it might be node grip time. We first see what people are saying in the chat. Alright, Discord people. You could never live stream and took an hour-long break. Or work for 5 minutes, took an hour-long break. Yeah, dude, it's a whole different level. Like, I'd be like I'm like twice as productive when I'm not live, which is like the unfortunate thing. Cause like I'm always thinking about stuff in a different way when I'm like live, because I trying to engage with the audience and such while trying to think about math. And it's like when I can just like make silly faces in the computer and do random shit, like that's the best. I'm gonna duplicate this and just scale a little bit less like before this, because I think we can. That's a pretty funny shape. I think we might be able to like, yeah, we can change this shape a bit, which is pretty neat. That's pretty fun. Alright, what I'm thinking is we can probably do something similar to what we did with the gas giants, you know? Which is use a gradient descent function to sort of simulate gravitational attraction with the dust clouds or dust lanes. Although I'm wondering if it would just be more efficient to sort of shape them based off of some of this stuff. I think we've got a good enough base. I think. Might have to duplicate. Gradient descent means essentially marching towards the like the peak or the valley of a function by the gradient. It's a little bit, it's calculus, right? So it's not super easy to understand. But that's the sort of thing, like if you can imagine the peak of a noise function is like the center of mass and gravity is collapsing towards it, you can see immediately why something like gradient descent would be really useful in this case. But that's something that not only is it a bit computationally slower, it also might be more or less unnecessary. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take a noise texture, something like this, and scale it down a bit. Then I'm going to plug that into another one, change the detail up a little bit, roughness and so on. We're going to keep the roughness low with that one. Really mess with this. Color ramp. Actually, first of all, we need to multiply this by that. So we got this. What's going on here? Just did something, didn't we? Ah, that's why. Gotta go in the volume. Silly me. Speaking of, we can scale this down a ton. Would a 0.6 sample rate be good for the Galaxy? No. You're going to need a lot more. Or a lot less, because you got the fancy dust lanes and shit. I'm using 0.01, and that's probably going to do the job, but I'm prepared for the scenario where it doesn't. Okay. So this is going to be sort of our dust lane test. Here's how I'm going to do this. I'm going to sort of confine the coordinate space, or the function space between 0 and 1 by doing this trick where I add something to it, and then divide this by that. I think we should probably, instead of using that one, use something like this. And then crush these values in. Actually, you know what? No, I'm gonna leave it like that. This is a tough nut, man. This is tough. Trying to find a good way to do this sort of thing is always always pretty rough. I think we just might have to put this directly into that. Yeah, this might be better. Why does there have to be such a tight time constraint? Dude, this is just how fast I usually work. It's actually quite, like, significantly slower. Like, this took almost 45 minutes. I probably would have had this done in, like, 15 if I wasn't on stream. I work, like, very fast. This is gonna also be just like an atrocious node tree. Just so you guys are, like, forewarned. Like, this already looks bad, but when you have stuff like this, it's like really hard to art direct, or it has a lot of parameters to art direct and shit. Like, it gets rough. Shit gets wild. A lot of you node people already know that. Fuck. This is tough as hell. I think I'm gonna scale this down and just turn the roughness up. Scale this one up. Okay, so we got these dust lanes going rather well for us. It's also let's make sure the vertical scale looks good. I'm gonna twist those down a little bit, or turn that down a little bit. Actually, I think it might have been good where it was. Okay, I'm just gonna leave it like that and then just add in something else. Or maybe what we can do, since we still get a bit of that stuff, is we take like a power. You know, we can just like E-spline. Nope, that just killed a lot of it. Okay, we can get some of that back. Alright, good to know. I'm going to constrain these on the z-axis a bit because they are currently going a little bit nuts. So I'm just going to take, like, I'm going to duplicate this, grab the z-axis, that's the x-axis. Then I'm going to do that exponential decay thing. I think I'm going to multiply it first in here and then add in the second one. Let's first see how well this works. Interesting. That's pretty cool. I wonder if it would be better to just use this as a mask for something. I do like that a little bit better. Let's just multiply this like after the fact. Scale it up a little bit. Oh, interesting. Let's plug this into this. Yeah, this is what we were. Okay, still a little bit of clipping there. And let's just add shader. Like make this like red and shit. Alright, significantly more yellow. DJ, I'm assuming you're referring to when I was talking about gradient descent. Yeah, that's, I mean, that's used in everything, you know. It's pretty crazy. Interesting. I mean, a lot of this, I think, is just going to come down to playing with color ramps, you know. See how this looks from the side. Not too bad. Let's up the roughness in this. You turn the scale down. Actually, let's up the roughness in that one. This is rough as hell. Oh well. Not entirely pleased with this. I don't think we have time to explore like a gradient descent route, so I think I'm just gonna leave this more or less as it is. Like the Nebula one, most of the development came after the fact. I think I'm just gonna leave that as it is and just focus on making shit colored and stuff. I'm also gonna uncrush that and that, and then just ramp up the density a ton. Might be able to get more detail. Let's see. That's pretty neat. I think we can take something like this and then just multiply this by like the original noise texture. I see I have a Discord notification. I'll get to that in a second. That does add a little bit more detail, but it kills it in some of the places that we want to. So maybe we just change it to color mix RGB and then set it to, and then we can just invert this. That is how much it'll multiply it by. It's pretty cool. Maybe string up a power node or two. Still quite a lot of absorption. So I was tinkering with some values. Yeah, so we're getting reasonable dust lanes. They're not the greatest, but they're okay. They're okay. Alright, let's do some coloring and then we can call it quits. So let's add in like an actual emission shader. I'm gonna take a break. Andrew Big, I'm not currently in school. I graduated high school. I tried college, but didn't work out. As someone who uses nodes often, I would love to know how you keep track of all those nodes. Just memory. I don't know. So let's look at a reference. I'm gonna answer Discord. Looks like is there gonna be a recording? Yep. are looking pretty cool from just those dark cloud spots. Thank you. Alright. I guess let's just add in some stars. I'm going to isolate the brightest parts with like a color ramp. Oops. Actually, I'm going to isolate this fella, like this part, and then I'm going to use a Voronoi texture. Distance output, plug it into volume, not into the vector. And then I'm going to add in math multiply, then power -2. And then I will multiply this by that. Actually, you know what? I'm going to do something a little bit cheeky here. I'm going to clamp this at like 0.035 and then divide that. Change that to, fuck, I don't know. And then obviously add in, I'm going to add in a Musgrave. That's connected to this, I think. Set the scale pretty low. Multifractal. Dimension a little bit low. Just some basic stars. That's pretty cool. Then I'm going to plug this into the strength. Here, what if I'm going to multiply this by, where's our gradient? That's this. Okay, that's pretty cool. Then these are going to be blue. Like they are in actual galaxies. Alright, sweet. Then let's in general multiply this by the same Musgrave. But this time I will add one. Oops, that doesn't look too great. You can see those stars poking through, which is pretty cool. Just multiply it by some more. What do I want to do for the rest of these? Oops, that's OBS. All right. Okay, let's just make a really small really small Voronoi, and just assign some cells to that and shit, or assign some color to the cells. You can change this like 250. So I'm going to have really bright blue stars, which are going to be like the same color that we used for the other ones. And then darker red stars. I think I might just use constant for this. Then some, oops. That's a relatively good color palette, I think. Ain't too bad. Let's change this a bit. Nope, not that. That way they're just a little bit more prevalent. And let's also, we can do a similar thing with this. Just to make sure some of the cells are brighter than the others so it doesn't look so homogeneous. I see a couple people are on the stream commenting. I will get to you guys in 1 second. I'm not being very efficient about this. I'm just messing around with stuff, to be honest. You guys have to understand, I'm pretty tired, right? So I'm not doing a great job. I could probably do something a little bit better, given more time. See, I'm choosing wrong nodes and shit. so now this absorption looks a little bit not as bright now that we have stars and stuff in there. Alright. Here's what I'm going to do. I will divide, just to make the portion in the center a bit darker, I'm going to divide the absolute by the length of this. That's just going to squeeze the center down a little bit. And then I'm going to use the trick to divide it by 1 plus itself to make sure that it's only going where we want it to go. Then I'm also going to divide the density by this. Let's multiply. I'm going to add a little bit of like a brighter spot in the very center, just so that it looks a little bit better. But you know what, I think I'm instead going to just Alright, now I'm starting to lose control of my nodes. Alright. Okay, here we are. I'm going to duplicate this power. This power is going to go to like 3, but then we can multiply it by like 9. Or 50. Okay, that's not really working. It kind of is. Oh well. So let it render out a smaller portion. Yeah, it's far from perfect. Okay, I'm gonna call it there. I don't actually have patience. Last time I tried this took like a year. I wonder if I still have the files. I don't think I do. Yeah, if I have the files, they're buried somewhere deep in my Google Drive. Actually, look. I don't have anything embarrassing on my drive. Question is if I have no, I always do this. What the hell am I doing? Oh, I think this might be it. Yeah, I mean it's the only. Okay, let's see if this works. My frustration is your learning. Yeah. Okay. Alright, here's the old file. Actually taking a bit to render out. I forgot how long it took. This one I remember wasn't too great. I think this one was probably better. Aha. Yeah, so we're having some fun here. I'm just gonna let this render out for a bit. This was designed after the color and design of like M81. Alright, this I mean this was pinwheel supposedly. Some of these turned out better than others. Wonder what this one was. Oh well. I think I like this one. Something like that. You want to see some you want to see some other projects of mine? Just while we're hanging out. I don't really have the energy for any more node stuff, but I can show you some cool things in other departments. Literally nobody's listening on Discord. That's funny. Hey, we got like 20 people listening here, so that's pretty cool. Yeah, okay. It takes a little while to update on my end, but here I'll show you some fun stuff. This was earlier today. I was experimenting with adding some ring shadows to the planet. Turned out pretty good. It's an interesting look for sure. Okay, I have some others. This is the same scene without the rings. Slightly different camera angle. I figured out how to do better ground shadows that don't actually take up any more performance. Here's some planet shader stuff. I really love these rings. Holy math, what would you say is the best way to learn / better understand the thought process behind the math equations? It's just an intuition you build. That's honestly the best I can tell you. Just do projects that challenge you. Have I made ring galaxies or galaxy collisions? No, it was hard enough to get one type of galaxies done. After 2 years of watching this young man, I never thought I would hear him say that he was getting lost in his own node tree. Granted, I would have been lost with less, half of what he's got. Yeah, I mean, when you are trying to like speed node stuff, it's not. How should I say? It's kind of the worst to keep track of stuff. There's talk of like a speed noding competition with me and some other node bros. it's a sort of thing like most of my node setups, like for instance, this shader. You guys will see some of the insides, but not enough that you can reconstruct it. Like this is very coherent, right? It's pretty simple. Everything's in node groups, split into different objects. The nebula shader is a little bit more rough because it was sort of a speed noding project, but even then, like all of this, I mean, these are just sort of duplicates. This is a bit different. It's just they're all arranged into parts and then they come together over here. They make something spectacular. Can you give a very, very brief run through of how I achieved the planet with the clouds, atmosphere, etc.? Yeah. Most of this is public knowledge already, but I'll give you an abridged version. Basically, all the shadows are computed inside the shader. So why there are these light samples. I'm trying to keep this vague because I don't want to potentially tank my sales if people can clone it and copy it. Basically, you separate the atmosphere, the clouds, and the ground into different objects, and then you compute the sample, or like light samples and stuff, for each shader computation, and that eliminates a lot of the noise that comes from like a regular GI setup. GI as in global illumination, not GI track sort of thing. I just abbreviated that because I can. There's some other tricky stuff that goes on. There's plenty of optimizations. I found ways to efficiently use like actual ground shaders that don't take up loads of extra time and memory and such. Let's do a viewport render real quick so you guys can see. For someone else that makes crazy node trees like you, I've only ever seen you with trees this far in depth. 80% math nodes for sure, if not more. Yeah. I think I might have the what's going on? Something's going on. I might have the most hard to I might have some of the most hard to understand node trees out there. But I mean, there are plenty of node artists. I mean, if you want another one who's also like young like me, just look up Nugget. I'm just gonna render this out because I can. Nugget is one of the other fellows. I don't think I'm rendering. Ah, yes, this is why. That's why it's tanking my performance. Screw this shit. It's trying to render 3 things at once. I have way too many Blender tabs open. Have I tried hydraulic erosion with particles? I've coded that before. Have I done it in Blender? No. It's something that I just never saw a need to do. I have taken Fourier transforms in Blender though. I was gonna try to do fast Fourier transforms for like Fraunhofer diffraction. I know I'm butchering the pronunciation there. Fuck's sake, just die, Blender. I'm gonna close some of these tabs because I don't see any reason why to keep them open. Yeah, there's actually a reasonable community of Node artists that are pretty good at what they do. I'm sort of I'm one of the only ones that is like in the specific niche of like doing space shit and node stuff, so I'm kind of like a mix between them. But that also means I've got skills from both disciplines, which is pretty cool. Here's a nebula render, by the way. I can keep up with pretty much all of them on all their fun stuff, like ray marching, all that stuff. But I also do space. Oh, here's a hard surface thing I'm currently working on. This thruster is up on my Patreon. What do you think, which part Blender is limited in space stuff compared to other softwares, I'm assuming? I mean, it's only as limited as the node graph is limited. I.e. no for loops in that or something, or that stuff. Houdini, I think it's called Vex or something, like it's a programming thing you can do a lot more in. Or at least a lot more easily. That hasn't stopped me from doing a whole lot of stuff just natively in Blender though. Really, once you get your head around the fact that Blender's node system is a programming language just like anything else, it's just a different permutation of it. It's pretty easy to do most things. You gotta be kidding me. Why will you not pin? This is fucking irritating. Alright, I'm gonna do render. What YouTubers do I recommend with node stuff? I mean, I'd recommend myself. In all seriousness, though, I'd recommend Arendelle probably for more intermediate, all the way through beginner, from beginner through advanced. I think he has probably the best stuff. Why is this taking so long? Come on, folks. Oh well, I think the stream is borking something. Alright, folks, I'm going to cut the stream. I will see you guys later. Yeah, and have a good one. It was nice hanging out with y'all. Alrighty.